Happy Monday, friends. Welcome back to Jason Unleashed. How's it going? Good to see you guys. Jason Carter here. Thank you so much for joining me, and thank you so much for watching. Hope you had a great weekend. I hope you're ready for an incredible week, because that's exactly what's going to be an incredible week. On today's show, I have an icon, a legend, and an incredible woman, someone who I've looked up to for close to 30 years now. She is the NAACP Image Award winning television host, producer, mother, and activist, Ananda Lewis. She's here today. We're gonna have an incredible conversation. She just stepped into the room, so let's bring her in. Let me wave at her, and let me bring in Ananda. And I'm describe how the universe has made this happen today. And we're having an awesome conversation about some very important things. I saw you, Ananda. Hi, welcome. Good morning.
Thanks, Jason. Good morning. It's so good to finally sit with you. We've been trying to do this ever since we met at Whole Foods in the juice bar.
All right. And then we ran into each other again at Panda Express.
We kept running into each other.
And as
Wait,
the
I
universe
gotta turn my volume up. Hold on.
Okay, me too. I'm gonna turn you up in the headphones.
Okay. Oh, I should have put headphones on.
No, you're fine. You're fine. First of all, people in the comments are loving you. They're so excited to have you on, that you're coming on the show. Thank you for being on. As I said in the intro, I have looked up to you and have watched you.
Don't say the 30 years part again.
For a while. But I'm glad we can make this happen. And you know, we were going to talk about some other things. And as the universe would have it, life has happened, and we're here today. So I'm glad to have you on. First of all, how are you doing?
I'm fantastic.
Good.
Honestly, I'm fantastic.
Awesome.
I'm so loved and supported, and I feel great. And you know, the body does what the body does, not for no reason. We get here for a reason, and we got to figure those reasons out to get out of here. And that's what I'm doing.
That's what you're doing. Well, you look incredible, and you revealed via Instagram, via social media on October 1st, something that was very personal to you, something that shocked a lot of your fans and your followers and your community and your people. I'm gonna let you talk about that. And why did you decide to use social media as a platform to share your story about what's going on in your life?
Start where? Okay. Well, like I said in my post, I've been dealing with getting cancer out of my body for almost 2 whole years now. I was first told what was going on by a doctor in like January of 2019, right? So it's been almost 2 years. But what you have to remember is that the day the doctor tells you whatever they tell you, especially when it's something like cancer, especially when it's with tumor cancers, right? That's been going on.
Yeah.
It didn't start the day before you went to the doctor's office.
Right.
know, that's been building in your body. There has been an environment in your body that has allowed for it to build and to continue. You have not been aware of it, which is why I am pushing so hard for early detection for women. The earlier you're aware of it, the earlier you can jump on doing something about it. But the fact still remains that there's a reason it's going on in your body, and there's a process at play. The reason why I chose when I chose was because I felt like I was far enough in the journey to be in a secure place. Mm-hmm. Last October, I felt like I wanted to say, oh my God, I wish they knew to get these freaking mammograms like I didn't, right? But my own life was chaotic at mm-hmm. that moment, and it wasn't good for me. And so I think it's really important in your life, in all of your lives, all of everybody watching, and my mom's in here. Hi, Mommy.
Hey, Mom.
That you do what is right for you. You're the only one who you should be listening to. Do I mean ignore other people? No. Do I mean ignore experts? No. But gather all that information and then make a choice that works for your life, period.
Right.
And that's what I had to do. And the choice for me, it was the wrong time for me. This year is just, I'm calmer. Things are better. I'm at ease. You know, it was time. And I said, God just put it on my heart to do. And I tell you, Jason, I struggled with it. Even up to the day that I posted, I wasn't feeling well at all that day. I'm in the middle of some pretty rigorous treatments. And, you know, all non-toxic, all really good for my body, all matched for my body. They're brilliant. And sometimes my body reacts to them funny. And that was a night that I had a funny reaction. And I had worked on the video. I knew that I liked it. I knew I liked where it was, but it still needed some, like, you know, editing in the captions, because I don't put out stuff with typos.
Right. It's a struggle. I feel you on that.
I know you know. You're running your whole thing. I know you know.
And then when you get it, and then when you have
Go ahead, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. I'm too
No.
far from the phone to hear you well. I'm sorry.
And then when you have a typo, you're like, you had one job.
One job, caption maker.
Right.
Spell it right.
Yeah.
But I had to go back and redo that. I had a long day. I had 5-6 hours of treatments a day. It was a lot. And I said, maybe I just shouldn't do this right now. Maybe it's the wrong time. I'm not a fearful person, so I'm not going to say scared. That's not me. But I got, maybe terrified is a better word. I wasn't scared. I was terrified.
Sure.
I sat there and struggled. I said, God, I know I'm supposed to do this, but what are they going to say about me? What about the backlash? What about what it does to my life? I've been able to keep this private. I've been able to function in silence, which I think is the best way to function, especially with difficult things. You don't need a lot of opinions. You don't need a lot of input. It disrupts what you're trying to do. Sure. I knew that was going to change. And I said, maybe I shouldn't. And then I got really calm and I took a breath because I knew that was all coming from ego and fear. And none of that is how I live my life. And anytime you find yourself coming from ego and fear, that's what I believe we have turned into calling the devil on your shoulder. And you need to rebuke it. And you need to say, oh, I see you trying to stop me. Poof, Poof,
so yes.
I took a minute and took a breath and did it. And I was like, I'm doing the right thing. This is to help other women. Post. And then I turned my notifications off and went and dealt with my body. I called the doctor. I was trying to figure out, are these things normal? Is it okay? Do I need to go to the ER? He was like, nah, you cool. So then I just went to bed. I honestly have only been back online twice since I posted. And part of me feels horrible for that because I've heard that there's a lot of influx, that it did make a good impact. And it did exactly what I wanted it to do, that women are saying, I'm going to do it. I'm going to take my friends. Like, let's go. It's like a group outing to mammograms. We're all about that. But do what you need to do. But I honestly, I didn't do it for the comments and the
right. Of course.
And as long as I can hear that women are taking my advice, I'm healing right now. That takes a lot of focus. And I'm grateful for all the love. The outpouring of love is overwhelming. And so I've gone on twice and I've seen a few things and then I'm overwhelmed. I'm like, oh my gosh, look at God, and then I got to go off again. I have treatments to do. I have exercise to do. I have a whole protocol and my day is packed. So it really, it's been an experience. I'll tell you that much, but it's been one that I've experienced from a bit of a distance.
Well, one, let me start by saying thank you for even giving me a little bit of your time. I do understand your time is very valuable. You're very busy. One. And two, people in the comments, we have Nicki Minaj's mother, Carol Mirage, here saying prayers up to you. I mean, people are just loving you. The reason why, Ananda, the reason why you received such an outpouring of love is because you are, for someone in the culture, especially Black culture, and for a lot of people, you're a treasure. We must protect our treasures. We have watched you for years. We have loved you
right now, Jason.
As she should be. So by you sharing that, it was a gift because, as you said, you inspired women who have looked up to you as a beacon of leadership and someone of the culture, someone who says, hey, if Ananda's about this, we're about this too. And now you're saving lives. That's massive. That's a calling. I think out of all the things you've done in your life, you're a mother, you're so many wonderful things, but do you feel like this is a second calling on your life by God? Because I know you believe in God and you walk in faith. Do you feel like God has called you to do this work now?
Way more so than the first time. Yeah, I didn't feel called to the work I did before. And as much as I had a great time and as much as it was, profound in my life and the timing was great, and as much as I understand now in hindsight, way more than I did in the moment, that other people were really inspired by it and could see themselves in me on TV and go, oh, that's possible for me.
Yes.
And could hear somebody really articulate and who could deal with anybody. Like now I understand all that. Then I was, there was a rough time in my life. All the years I was on TV were very hard on me. And it was a lot going on back then.
Oh, it was a different time. It was a different time. Yeah. It was
and I'm grateful there was no social media back then. I think that this particular event, for lack of a better, I tangent a lot, so you'll have to remind me what I was saying. But I do want to say here that I don't claim it. I don't say I have cancer. You didn't hear me say that. I don't say that. And that's because I believe in how energy works. I believe we have been given tools on this planet to use energy, all kinds of other things. God gave us a lot of tools. We ignore them because we believe that the only thing we need to do is just pray. Well, that is a tool, but there are other tools as well that are at your disposal. It's up to you to be open to them or not. So that's, your thing. I'm open to all the tools. And when I'm using and very focused on being very conscious and aware of using energy, words matter. They carry energy. They're powerful. And when I say there are malfunctioning cells in my body, I say it like that because that's the truth. I don't have cancer. What is cancer? What is it? It's a description of a wide variety of things that might be going wrong in your body. But what actually is it?
Sure.
It is a cluster of cells that have decided not to do their damn job. They have said, I ain't doing that. I refuse. Oh, you stubborn? I am too. Let's go. That's how I look at it, right? Like, it's my body. This is mine. I am a divine light being descended down into physical form. These are the bodies we are given privilege to be in for like that long, right? But it's mine. And it's going to do what I say it's going to do. And it's going to do what I give it the tools to do. Things happen to our bodies with the environment that allows them to happen. And part of that environment, not to blame the victim here, I don't feel like a victim, so I ain't talking about myself, but anybody else who might be offended at what I'm about to say, anything that happens in your body is partially your responsibility, whether you knew or didn't know what you were doing. There's something you can do differently. And when I say responsibility, I mean it in the most powerful sense of the word. When you take responsibility, you take ownership and you take power.
Right.
And you can use that power to do whatever you want to do. It's all up to you.
Right.
And so for me, I don't say those words because that's not real to me. What's real to me is there's work to do. Here's what's going on. I need more testing to figure out even more deeply what's going on so I can really get it at the level I want it at, not just at a surface burn kill level. I want it gone. And I don't want my body to ever do this again. And there's a way to make that happen.
There is.
What was I saying before that? Because now you got
no, but I think you so eloquently articulated how you feel and what your thought process is and how you were going to attack this. And I love that you mentioned tools because you also mentioned that you're using alternative ways to battle what's going on. What does that mean? And how did you, one, come to find those alternative methods, and how are they working for you?
Okay, let me backtrack real quick because I did not finish answering your first question, but my mind just reminded me. I do feel called to talk about this now because there is so much information out there that isn't as succinct or as varied as I would like it to be. Also, back then, as much as I loved my jobs, even though my life was difficult at the time, I had a great time. I value the history that I created in those different positions, all of them. Teen Summit, favorite job ever. MTV Fun is on the way. Ananda Lewis show, bit of a train wreck. We could talk about that another time. That's why part of the reason I was like, I think I'm done right now.
Yeah.
I'm done. But still a blessing and a gift, and I appreciated it for the experience that it was. But I don't feel like, except for Teen Summit, there was a lot of time I was using my voice and my essence, whatever, my thing, to talk about things that weren't very valuable, honestly. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of, and that started weighing on my soul. Like, I do have a lot to say. I had a lot to say back then. I found myself in times where I'd be edited, out of my own statements. Like, first of all, I didn't say that to that person, and I didn't say it that way at that time. What is going on? Like, the craziness of what can happen on TV, I experienced full out. But now, I think this is one of the most important things to talk about. And so if ever I felt a time in my life like I was being called and drawn and compelled to be of service in some way, using my gifts of talking and interviewing and whatever else my gifts are, this is it. And so I will do that. I'm going to heal first, but then I will be on that path pretty wholeheartly. There's so much that needs to change. And there's so much that, especially women, but people in general need to know. And I keep saying women because I'm a woman, and so my identification point is there. But as human beings, men get breast cancer too.
Yes.
So I think it's important to acknowledge that, and also make sure that men are also getting screenings when they need to. And the point is really pay attention to your body.
You're right. Hey, there.
Yeah, your body is always talking to you. You're just not listening.
Mm-hmm. But isn't that life? Isn't that the conundrum that we're always in life? And you mentioned the ego. You mentioned ego and spirit. I think for people who are that think on those levels and have those mental planes, they get how sometimes you have to surrender the ego and really just go into how you're feeling and listening to a higher consciousness.
Yes.
I love that you touched on men and breast cancer, because in 2020 alone, close to 2,800 men will be diagnosed with breast cancer, as opposed to close to 280,000 women who will be diagnosed. But still, it's still health. Health is health. Health is health, and it doesn't matter male or female. Awareness is paramount. And you mentioned power and responsibility. Being aware is taking back the power. It's taking back your power and being able to use that. Stepping away from television, Ananda. The Ananda Lewis Show 2001, Teen Summit, you interviewed BJ, and then you decided that, hey, this wasn't for me anymore. And initially you wanted to be a teacher. Howard U grad, Howard University graduate. Bison. And people slid in the DMs were like, I have to rep for my sister, my Bison sister. But television wasn't the goal. You had a completely different path, got on Teen Summit, did your own talk show, then you stepped away. Why did you step away from television? For years, people wondered, where did Ananda go?
I know, it was like poof. I kept seeing here and there, they'd say, oh gosh, she fell off. And I was like, nah, I jumped. Long story short with that, because I really do want to get to the alternative stuff. My grandmother was a massively important figure in my life for my entire life. And she started not being able to live on her own. She started having age-related, at the time we thought, issues, right? And so all this kind of perfect storm of situations were happening. All these kind of perfect storm of situations were happening in my life at the time. 9/11 happened the day after my talk show launched. That in and of itself would wipe somebody off the air, right? So we were off for a few weeks. But even prior to that, there was so much strife and struggle in the process of doing the talk show for me. And I'm not someone who, I don't know if you can tell, but I'm vocal and I have an opinion I express.
Sure.
That doesn't change because I'm working for somebody. It will increase even more. And if you put my name on something, we better make sure some of this at least looks like me. So we were having difficulties, right? And I didn't have the right people representing me to be the bad guy. So I was being the bad guy and the good guy. And that don't work. It doesn't work.
Right.
And so things were falling apart anyway. And then 9/11 happened. And it was probably one of the most miserable times in my life, honestly. Some of the biggest devastations that I was dealing with in those years happened around then. It was too much. I got overwhelmed and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I can't do this.
Yeah.
And probably a few weeks later, I got a call from my grandma and she was like, I can't do this, And I was like, wow. So all these kind of merging of things happen. And the ultimate decision was to go home and take care of her. I was not going to let her die in a nursing home. I was not going to let her feel abandoned, and not by me, not while I'm on the planet. That wasn't going to happen. So I just had to make it wasn't even that tough a decision. It was a no-brainer. I was like, oh, you need me? Here I am.
Deuces, right. Yeah.
My friends drove out from California, from where I'm from, and drove to Jersey, where I lived at the time, right across from New York. And we packed up 2 U-Hauls and we drove back to California within a week. And that was it. I didn't even talk to the show people about leaving. And that was probably, looking back, super disrespectful, not a good way to keep a bridge strong. But I felt like I had already burned that bridge with how things were going. I got to do what I got to do. And I think this is very revealing of maybe a habit of mine, right? When things get tough for me, I go internal. I go cocoon and I focus on what I need to do. I don't talk about it. I don't tell a lot of people. I don't need everybody to know, look what's happening to me. I don't do that. It's not me. When other people do it, that's fine. That's them. I accept it. But also accept that that's not me. Yeah. That's not how I function. That's not, again, back to energy. That is a waste of my energy. If I need to focus on something, I need 1,000% of my resources to be able to master and effectively go through whatever it is I'm going through. And talking about it, figuring out what someone else thinks about it, doing anything outside of that has no place in that realm, in that process. And that's been automatic for me for a very long time. So what happened then was I left to take care of my grandma. I took care of her the last 2 years of her life. And it is a decision I feel so proud about every single day. Every single day. I never would have made, if it happened today, I would be like, drop everything and run. And there's people in all of our lives we would do that for.
Right. Also, it touches on and leans on the strength that I think that you inherently possess, because not a lot of people are able to say to have that kind of definitive response and that kind of clarity and be like, this is what I need to do, regardless of whatever consequences are there, you know, especially when it comes to your family. I feel you on that. Like if my mom or anyone that I love dearly said, I need you in this such and such capacity, absolutely. It's like, yes, book that ticket. Right.
We're gonna figure it out. Whatever else happens has to happen.
Right.
This is priority now. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
And, you know, I think that we struggle. I know that we struggle a lot with ego. When I was sitting here Thursday night before I posted, that was my ego popping up. And anytime you have ego and fear, the way you recognize it, the way I recognize it, is you say I a lot. Mm-hmm. I might be affected. I might feel bad. I might have consequences. Me. That's all your ego talking, right? And when you hear yourself do that, it's time to stop and take a breath and go, who do I really want to be in this moment? Who am I really?
Right.
How am I going to look back and feel about myself based on what I do right now? Then you do what it is you're going to do, and then you live with those consequences, whatever they are. Either way, you got consequences, good, bad. What?
It's
either way, life is short.
Right. It's the vacillation of worrying about that waste time, and really that's time you could use to be made. It's better to leap and be like, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. We've always had to figure it out anyways, right? We've always had to like pick up the pieces in some capacity anyway. So why not just say, let's just do the shit, and then cry, have fun now and cry about it later. Right.
That's right. Because you might cry later anyhow. You might as well have done what works for you. Right. And what you feel good about coming from your highest self. Right. Yeah. And when we talk about strength and the ability to do this, I always am reminded of what we come from. I think we, as brown people, as black people, as whatever you call us, we know who we is. We come from a history of people who have had to do this to survive to the next day. So you think you got problems. You know what I'm saying? You come from a people who have conquered every problem imaginable. And you're breathing today because they survived it and pushed through.
Come on, Ananda.
I don't care what happens. I know what I'm made of. I know I know where my power comes from. Yes. And I know what I'm capable of, and I know what the people I come from are capable of. Not even just in a global sense, but when we talk about my grandma, she was an amazing woman. She ran her own store for years. She juggled a family. She juggled life. She was a blesser of other people. She blessed so many people. Like, I saw that growing up. She's part of the reason, or the big reason, I know how to use tools. Mm-hmm. You know, that I fell in love with carpentry. I saw her fixing things. So I'm sure we can all think of examples in our own lives, tangible examples. We don't have to go back 200 years. Tangible examples of people who were around you growing up, who showed that tenacity and that strength and that, stubbornness, which can be a good quality in certain instances. That ability to say, yeah, this is what it is, and I'm gonna do what I need to do anyway. You're not stopping me. You don't get any power over here. And so for me, and every woman in my family, my mom, my aunt, my sister, everybody, I'm surrounded by strong people, and specifically strong women. And so I may not do the things they think I should do, right? Because there is some conflict over how I'm handling my own situation now, even within my family. But I have the right to make my choices. And the strength that runs through all of us is absolutely in me. And I access it every single day. And it will never fail me. And so that's why this has never been about fear for me. From the moment they said, this is what's happening, I'm like, oh, this has been going on. I knew from the biopsy, they were acting funny in the biopsy. I was like, ooh, something is not right. Y'all eyes are popping out. The energy was crazy in there. I was like, oh, I'm going to need to prepare myself. How am I going to do that? The first thing I did went and got a 30-day cleanse. And the day she told me was at night. And the next morning, that's what I started doing. I immediately was like, okay, body, got it. I have not been good to you for too long. I have not been paying attention. Some of that is true. I was also exposed to a massive amount of toxins because of the gas leak. I was living around the Porter Ranch gas leak, biggest in U.S. history when it happened. Yeah. We had to stay there for months and months before they got us out. I'm sure that had some effect on this just because of the timing when everything really kind of popped up and made itself more known. There are a lot of different ways that your body can go wrong. And so when we talk about alternative, like how I brought it back to that,
You're so good.
Talk about alternative. What I really mean when I say that are those things that support my body from a respect level of what my body's capable of doing. I believe my immune system is the only system divinely intelligently created that knows exactly how to fight this. But some things that I have done or have happened to this body that I'm in are standing in the way of that. How do I figure out how to alleviate those pressures, those stresses, those distractions of the immune system so that it can be free to do what it needs to do? Now, that thinking definitely works way better when you have smaller stuff to deal with. Again, early detection. And even if I had found this at like a stage 1, when it was, I still would have gone the same path, even more so, right? This was a riskier path because it's further along. But to me, that just means, okay, it takes a little longer. I got to do a little more. Things need to be a little stronger, but it's not impossible.
Right.
And because, nothing is impossible. And the other thing I had to do with the idea of fear, because from the beginning I was proactive. And the fear that came toward me was only coming from other people, the few people I told in the very beginning. And at that point I said, okay, no more. I don't need any more of this incoming. I understand that it's a scary thing for other people, but that's not my reality. And I have to function on what I know to be true for me. What my reality is what has to frame my decisions, my next steps, my energy, all of that. So I had to put up what I call, an energetic umbrella, boop, and cover myself to keep all that rain, which was in that, at that time, acid rain, from touching me. Because I knew that because people I love the most on the planet are afraid, that is going to be infectious for me. And I'm not afraid. I'm proactive. I know what I know, and I'm learning more every day. And so I think it's important to remember that you have to protect yourself in instances. And you're the only one who will do it. You can call upon the power that exists for you to help yourself, but you're the one here in physical form doing the work. Yeah. And so you need to really focus and letting too many people in on certain things is just, it's just not smart.
It's not. They say the key to failure is sometimes telling people your dreams. You mentioned your family and protecting yourself and being very discerning on who you talk to. But you're a mother. How did you have the conversation with your son in regards to what's happening? And also, what are the doctors saying is on the horizon for the future? How treatable is this? Where do we go from here?
My little wonderful boy. I have one child I birthed and 6 that I didn't, that are mine. And I had to tell all of them. I told them at different times. And my son first, obviously we're in the same household and all that. So I probably took about a week. He saw me make this big shift, right? He saw me go from eating, I always have considered myself healthy, but there's been, on times and off times of that. I'd be doing eating plans for the sake of losing baby weight, wanting to get my body back to looking like I wanted it to look, and didn't pay as much attention to my internal health as clearly I should have. So there were times where he would see me eating pizza or, donuts or all the stuff we all eat that I am now convinced has everything to do with somehow I got here. Sugar feeds cancer. Let's be real clear about that. And anybody that tells you otherwise, ask them what they use in PET scans to make the cancer light up. Just ask them, because medical field knows. So when I started this drastic shift in my eating, his father obviously already knew, and it was time to tell him, because he was asking questions. He's like, why are you drinking that? What is that stuff you're taking? Why can't we have pizza? So I basically just told him, listen, mommy's body is doing something wrong. It's having a hard time, and I have to help it. It's my job to help it. I'm the only one that can help it right now. And the way I'm helping it is by changing what I put in it. It's like a car. The gas we always put in our car, well, there's 2 types of that gas. One is unleaded and one is diesel. And if I put diesel in our truck that takes unleaded, it's going to break. And I've been putting diesel in it, just enough that it's broken a little bit. So now I have to get really, really strict on what kind of gas I'm putting in it. And that's the beginning of what I told him. just to make it make sense. He's a smart, wonderful kid, but he was 7 at this time. So, you know, I wanted to be careful. And I also told him, and it's very private. We're not going to talk about mommy's body being broken right now. We're just going to go through it. And from the very beginning of his life, I mean, the hardest part of this is, you know, him, because he's been my focus for so long, 100%. And now I've had to shift that, and that's been difficult. But that distracted me. I don't remember what I was saying. The hardest part is him. And I really felt like it was important to include him, but also let him stay distant. He didn't need to be all in every detail, right? But from the beginning of his life, I've been very clear on what I wanted him to know. I wanted him to be clear that his body was his, that he was a spirit living in this body, and it was his machine, right? Here's how it works. Here's what you can do to it on your own without anybody else. Here's how your breath helps you. Here's how you support life coming into your body. So he used to bump his leg, and I'd be like, oh, all right, let's put all of our energy on it. We'd close our eyes. I'd put his hands on it, wherever the, you know, injury was. And I'd say, you're going to imagine all this beautiful light coming from God going right on that place. You're going to push away all the pain. He's crying. I'm talking. And then I said, the first thing you got to do is take a breath. You get control by taking a breath. And he'd breathe. And then he'd finally get it, and he'd get into it. And he'd be like, oh, I can see it. It's making it better. It's, you know, and so from the time he was very little, we were doing that when he was, I don't know, 2, 3, you know, early as he could understand it. He's known that. And so one of the first things he did after knowing all this was going on with my body was tried to put his hand on my chest.
Oh, yeah.
And he did everything I taught him, and he did it for me. And it was like full circle, you know, it was like, wow, creating my own little healer.
Right.
And it was such a moment, you know. It still is, apparently. But it's been, there's been so many blessings in this. As scary as people think it is, if you can look at it like a blessing, it really can be. It really can be. It's a wake-up call. It's a wake-up call so that you could avoid something worse in the future. That's how I'm looking at it. And I'm doing every single thing I know how to do. And that takes us back to the alternative. So we keep going alternative and left.
No, it's, hey, but you know, we're here for you, Ananda. And like, I mean, I wish I could reach out through the screen and hug you and hold you and tight, which I appreciate. Virtual hug, but we're sending you all the healing energy, the love, the light, prayers, everything you need to make it through this. You're gonna make it through this. You're gonna be well. People, Ananda, people in the comments, you got to read the comments, girl.
I can't even see it. Will the comments be there when you repost? Because
no, they won't be there they won't be there. But they're here for you. They're celebrating you. They love you. I mean,
guys, thank you.
Yeah,
thank
you. and again, anything you need from me, don't hesitate to reach out. I know you got to go. You have a meeting today, but it has been incredible talking to you. Thank you for sharing. Where are some resources that people can go to learn more about breast cancer awareness and to be aware and to be on the forefront of their own health?
I am prepared for your question, even though I didn't know you were going to ask it. I was hoping we could get to that briefly. I don't give people advice. What you do in your life is up to you. You need to do your own research. You need to be your own advocate. You need to listen to all the people and then listen to yourself. Gather the information, apply what works for you. Some of the best information I've gotten has been from these resources. This book, Lights Out. When you talk about prevention, you have to look at the way our bodies are structured, how we're designed, how we're supposed to function, and how off from that righteous way, you know, not righteous in terms of religion, just righteous in terms of what your body needs. We are so off. Sleep in darkness, that's why I have that tent on my bed, and in silence and at the right times is vital. This book is vital. I wish I had this in the beginning. I didn't get it till this year, but you should get it. This book, in terms of once you already know you have something going on, this is also great for prevention. Do some screenshots, y'all, because these are important.
I'll post links. I'll post links below.
Oh, good. I have spoken directly to this woman. She was advising me for a while before I switched to another place, and I'm still using her advice, but just not directly for her because I have other people now just doing that same job. I couldn't double up. But amazing resource to really get into why your body is malfunctioning, what's going on, what's the environment, how can you affect the environment that's being created in your body that allows any disease, any malfunctioning to happen, right? There's things that you can do. All of this power is in your hands. Even when you choose conventional, you're doing that. You're making that choice. That's your power still at work, right? And so choose things that work for you. This has great information in it. I would
Wonderful.
also say Dr. Joe Dispenza has been so vital in my energetic and spiritual work on this path so far. And I found out about him way back in 2014 and then, you know, went back and forth and back and finally got back into the placebo effect. This book, when you talk about
Game changer.
energy, your power, how you get into the control system of your body, of your life, and start to really maneuver and manipulate things, pain management, energy movement. I mean, we are energetic beings. You are energy. I don't care what, listen, look it up. You don't have to believe me. Find it for yourself. There is so much information out there that you need to start applying for prevention and for reversal and for curing, right? So
Right.
I would also say this is a really good one. You'll get some doubled up information from other things. You can tell kind of what resources she pulled from. And Eat to Beat Disease is just a fantastic overall.
Yes, it's an incredible book. Yes.
Yeah. There's more. I mean, I have about 45 books, but these were kind of like the ones that I've gotten the most important information from. Also, please watch what you put in your mouth. I mean, if we had more time, I would go into some of these test results I got. I got levels of chemicals that come from food that you wouldn't believe.
I believe it. I believe it.
And the way that it works together is, again, your immune system is the system that will fight whatever happens to your body, if it can fight it. If you have crippled its soldiers, they ain't gonna work for you.
Right.
If you have toxins running through your body rampant, you're suppressing your immune system. If you're eating foods that trigger immune responses from you, that's taking focus from your immune system. I look at it like your immune system having to fight things. Its job is to keep you alive. So it's looking at things in order of survival. What's gonna kill me first? Is a tumor in the breast gonna kill me first? No, that's only dangerous if it spreads and does other things, right? Yes, we gotta deal with it, but that's not gonna kill me tomorrow. This food rotting in your gut that you shouldn't have eaten, that could kill me tomorrow if you go septic, you know? I mean, if I don't just digest this and get it through this system, there's a problem. So your body is functioning in a very organized, very intelligent, very systematic way. We have to understand that system better to be able to help it and support it and do what it is we have the ability to do to keep it running the way we want it to run. Stop putting diesel fuel in your unleaded tank.
Right.
You would not do that to your car.
Right.
We do reboots and downloads and upgrades to all of these machines around us, but we forget the machine we're in. And so you need to, you know, you need to do what you need to do. Again, I don't give advice. I can just tell you what I've done. I've done lots of detoxing. That's super important. Even as I'm killing cancer cells with other substances, those cells got to get out of my body somehow. You have two fluids, blood and lymph. Go look up, Dr. Morse talks about this a lot. Blood and lymph. And the blood has a heart to pump it and keep it moving. The lymph system does not have a pump. You're the pump. You need to be working out, not strenuously. You need to sweat. You need to pump your lymph system. That's how you take out your trash. Don't take out the trash in your house for 3 weeks and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
You understand the nastiness of that. We need to understand the nastiness of not taking out the trash in our bodies and what that leads to, right? We are not victims. An alien did not come lay an egg in my body, right? This happened because of systems that stopped working, of influences from the outside, of suppressions on my immune system, of stresses, emotional stresses I've dealt with in my life that I never dealt with fully, right? That I never cleaned out of my body fully. Your body stores things energetically.
Right.
So
Yes.
there's a lot of different levels you have to look at when you're looking at a systemic disease. And that's why so far I have not chosen conventional. It's not systemic enough for me. You're not looking at my whole body.
Right.
You're just looking at
It's very myopic. It's very myopic. It's a myopic view of how to treat something. Yeah.
Yes. And instead of looking at my whole body, you're going to destroy some of the most important parts of my body. That is counterintuitive for me right now. I'm not saying I'm never open to it. I'm saying that today, that isn't what is required for me. And to answer your question about the doctors, you know, from the beginning, I was told to do the most drastic, do everything, you know, do a mastectomy, do full chemo, do full radiation. And I sat and I listened. And then I went within and listened to myself. I consulted with my creator, and it wasn't the right decision for me at the time. And I can't say that that is always going to be the case. I can say that every day I wake up and I assess what I'm doing. And for the last 2 years, up until this very second that I'm talking to you, Jason, I'm doing the right thing for myself in the right way, within the parameters of what I believe and know to be true about my body, my life, and my God. and I'm good.
You're
I'm
good.
And when you deal with fear, last thing I know, look, I'm the one that has to go and I keep talking. Hold up, I just like talking to you. So the last thing, maybe, I don't know. When you talk about fear, I had to analyze, okay, fear of what? What is the fear, right? Because the past doesn't exist and the future is unknown. What am I afraid of? We're afraid of dying.
Right.
That's what we're afraid of. That's the ultimate fear. So let me look at that. You're gonna die. I'm gonna die. It's a matter of time. We don't get out of this life alive. That's not how it works. If you don't know that, you got a lot to look up. Like, get on board. You don't get out of here alive, right? So for me, it didn't make sense to be afraid of something inevitable. I'm not trying to die today. Listen, I'm all Game of Thrones. What do we say to the God of death? Not today.
Not today.
But listen, I'm not going to avoid that. No matter what I do, I'm going to beat this. I'm going to be fine. I'm going to live some beautiful, wonderful years, and then I'm going to die. Or I'm not going to beat this, and I don't get to live all those years, but I've done exactly what I wanted to do the way I wanted to do it. I've had an incredible life, like 5 lives in one lifetime. That's why I say that on my Instagram. I literally have had the fullness I cannot even express my gratitude for. And then I'll die. Like, either way. So I'm not going to let death be that thing that makes me go, okay, I'll just, whatever, no, absolutely not. I rebuke you too, death, because I get to control what I do in my body, which means I get to control how long I live. No doctor tells me how long I'm going to live. You don't have that kind of power in my life, and I'm not going to give it to you because it's mine, and I'm selfish. How about that? I'm selfish and I don't get none. This is my case. I'm going to eat all of it, and I'm going to lick my fingers in your face because I get to control that. So I'm not saying ignore people. I'm not saying be ignorant. I'm not saying be stubborn to a fault. I'm saying know who you are. Be clear on it. Because when you know that, fear is irrelevant. You can't do anything with that energy. When you talk about wasted energy, that's a waste of your energy. And it's a waste of my time. So am I going to sit here and just, worry? I could be in a sauna sweating out some toxins. I could be in here preparing a really good keto meal to make sure I'm starving out these cells. There are a number of things I could do with that time and worry. And when you talk about energy, fear is one of the lowest frequencies.
Yes,
love and
absolutely.
gratitude are the highest frequencies.
Right.
And when you talk about healing, you better be up in these high frequencies of God. You better. What are you doing with fear? How is it serving you? It's not. So let it go. Kick it out. When other people try to bring it to you, tell them no thank you. I don't eat that.
Right. Ananda.
I don't know.
No, you do know. You're not though. You do know. And I think a lot of what you're talking about is just it's relevant. And it's so intersectional with how people are feeling now in 2020 with COVID and reorganizing and redefining their lives on so many different levels. Thank you, because I feel so. I'm going to be honest. When I found out about your diagnosis and I knew you were coming on and we had been trying to make this happen, I had to pivot very quickly. And I was like, this is someone who, you have a game plan of how you want to talk to someone, and then you have someone that then you have this life-changing news. And you think like, how can we best serve our audience, right? How can we have the most authentic conversation? I'm so glad that we were able to do that, because so much great information you've given us. People in the comments are going to look for those books. They're aware, they're woke, and you've been woke. You've been woke before it was cool to be woke on so many different things. For years ago, you were woke.
I know my mom, thank you. And my mom, hopefully, is still here. And I do want to say thank you, Mommy, so much, because my parents were both transcendental meditators. My whole life, we were born in kind of an environment. My grandmother was a firm, solid believer in the Lord and had me in church and gave me fortification in that way. And my mother breastfed me for 3 years. I was a home birth. And so I, in turn, did that for my son. I've learned and received so much great guidance from my parents, from my mom, from my dad, from my grandma, from my aunt, from my sister, like from everybody in my family, both my sisters. And I'm grateful for that. But, we all can have access to that and then don't listen to it.
Right.
So it's important for you to open up to, if you see your life not doing what you want, recognize that you need to do something different. You're the first change that needs to happen. You are an incredibly important variable when you talk about how things happen. You changes everything.
And there's that power. There it comes back to that control and taking back a reclamation of that power. We're reclaiming our power, Miss Lewis. We're reclaiming our power.
Do it. And it's always right there. The only reason you don't have it is because you're not reaching out for it. It didn't go anywhere. It has been there waiting for you to say, oh, hello, power. Well, thank you. Welcome back to my life.
Welcome
Do
back.
that for yourself, especially right now. Do it at the polls, November 3rd. Like, do it in every single way you can in your life. Tell life what you want. One thing that Joe Dispenza says constantly that I love is the best way to predict your future is to create it.
Oh.
You're creating it every single second. How you talk to people, how you energetically interact with your environment, how you treat yourself, listen, you know it's true, and y'all know it's true. We could go on forever, but just make sure you are right within yourself, you know, because everything outside of you depends on you.
Ananda, thank you for your time today, girl. Thank you. Look, I'm gonna go ahead and go on with the day. I know you're busy. You know where to find me. I'm gonna post this. I'm gonna post this on Instagram, and then I'll have the links below of the books and whatnot. And all the best. Speedy healing. We're here for you, and just reach out if you need anything. Okay.
Thank you so much, Jason. I'm really glad we finally got to catch up. Keep doing what you're doing. I love your interviews, and I love what you're doing with your page. And I just keep wanting to see you go. Just keep running, brother. Keep running.
I will. I
always say that. I said that to my friend Shamika, who's posting the interview later. I was like, run! I don't know why I love you so much. But anyway, I love you guys. Thank you, everybody who tuned in. And I got this, y'all. Don't worry about me. If anything, just send me good energy, and I can use that for what I'm using it for. But no fear, no worry, okay? Deal.
There you go. Talk to you soon, Ananda.
Bye, guys. Bye.
Bye.